I've really only been up a few minutes, and we are starting a full-time vlog today, and we're starting a full work day, a full work week, and we've created schedules and all kinds of stuff to get us going. We are going to get on track to create our dream life. Yesterday was an exceptionally hard day, and I'll try to tell you about that a little later. So this is just catching you up on the fact that I've just woke up, and I'm going to be showing you throughout this video our beginning the process of reaching our dream life. And then again, this is to prove that you can do this. You can start from homeless, extreme poverty. You can fight your way through. You just have to have a dream, and you have to keep your eyes on it and just keep praying, seeking God, and doing what you've got to do to make that dream and that prayer that you have in your heart come true. So I look rough. I've had some really rough couple months health-wise, and you know, as I have told in my anti-aging videos, whenever I get sick, everything just goes down on me. My face dries up and gets saggy, and I start looking like I'm in my 70s. But you know, you're going to see this because I am going to do my anti-aging on this thing here. When I get in a state where I'm having a little bit of trouble breathing, because over the past few days things have been really, really dry, and we had to be out, and there was like a really bad air content. So my asthma is acting up a little bit. But I'm very soon going to be able to afford the supplements that I need, and I'm going to start exercising, but I'm also going to change my diet out. I think I'm going to become more vegetarian because meat just drags me down. I don't know. It just makes me feel bad. And dairy seems to work really, really good with me. And the cheese that I eat kind of counteract the effects of the celiac. So got all kinds of health things to deal with, but I've been doing what I call, you know, just a run through the house. I call it fly through. And if you've never actually went to it, the Fly Lady website, I want to give her credit where credit's due. She has really good programs for cleaning house. So I've always called my little quick cleanup of my fly through. So I've been doing a fly through the house because, and I'm going to tell you this story. Jamie has a tooth he has to have pulled. And because I haven't had my eye surgery yet, and I don't have glasses, and I'm not used to the heavy traffic that's in the city, I can't bring him home from having the tooth pulled. Now, we have to make one trip. He can drive. We'll be good to go on that, where he'll get his x-rays and everything like that done. But when he got hit in the back of the head with the iron pole, he also got his jaw broke, and it was supposed to be surgically corrected. It never was. So this tooth is right in front of where he has this fracture, closed fracture on his jaw. Oh, I'll tell you what, you can have some real stories when you've lived our kind of life. So anyway, there was a neighbor, one of our good neighbors that lives across the street. He had to have surgery because he had a rupture in his abdomen. And there was another lady that lives next door to him. They're right across the street from us. He was going to go early in the morning by himself, like 4 o'clock in the morning, and then she was going to drive him home because he could drive himself there. He just couldn't drive himself home. But she needed a way to the hospital. So we loaded up and we took her to the hospital downtown, and that went okay. But we left around 10 o'clock, and by then it's getting like 100 degrees here, and there's no air conditioning in the truck. But while we were out, we decided we'd go to Sam's and we'd go to Walmart and we'd do our shopping so that we didn't have to get out the rest of the week, except for like our therapy. And Jamie and I do not do well in the desert. We do not do well in hot weather. And by the time we got home, all three of us were so exhausted and worn out. And we all took a nap. We had also had therapy the day before or something like that. But anyway, the house had got messed up. So I'm in the process of doing my fly through. Really, the only thing that I've got left to do is a little fly through of the kitchen and a little fly through, wash a few dishes, and a little fly through of the bathroom. Now, this is just like the baseline cleanup. This is not anywhere near what we plan to do. Now, we don't plan to live here long term. Matter of fact, we'd move today if we could, but we have a few circumstances and a few things that cause us not to want to leave just yet. If it was possible, we'd probably leave in November. We're not going to probably leave before October. That's likely not going to happen because we have to build substantial monthly income before we can move east. That is somewhat of a problem because the income that I have is specifically tied to the state we live in, and which is New Mexico. So when we leave here, I will lose that income, and we wouldn't have enough income left to do what we need to do. So we probably will be here, but the goal is, while we're here, we're sheltered, we can get warm, we can stay warm, we can stay cool, we can afford to pay our bills. While we're here, we're going to make the best of it. We've got good health coverage, so we're going to make sure, all of the things are covered pretty much that we want to get done, like our dental, our eyes, catching up on health issues that while we can. But I've been doing the fly through, and there's a little B-roll of me cleaning up the living room, and I am extremely tired from yesterday, and I'm sure I'm just worn out. But I have determined that I'm going to do this. I am going to put in these 8, 10, 12-hour days if I have to. I'm going to keep you on the line so you always know what we're doing. And I'm not great at editing videos, but I think that you'll enjoy this. Now, like I said, this is like the rough and grody side of this whole story. The goal is for ultimately you to see the progress that we make as we make it. And we have made so much already. And I will try to add a little B-roll in. We have lived, we started out just hanging out more or less in a trailer that belonged to somebody else. It didn't have a kitchen, didn't have a bathroom. We were just more or less, we had a roof over our heads. We could heat it. Then we ended up trying to buy land with a cabin on it, but the financial, the income that we had was barely meeting the payments. And then Jamie got hurt again at work, and so he's not been able to work a regular job since then. And then that's when we, actually my daughter moved to Arizona, and our hopes were to be able to come to Arizona. So we started out homeless coming to Arizona, and it was, in the Phoenix area, that was like a really, really bad idea. We nearly died. But, you know, it was all for the sake of family and loving her, and it's not the smartest move we ever made. So, and in the process, lost everything that we had in storage and stuff. You know, you make decisions and then you have to live with them, and sometimes it's tough. So anyway, after that, we stayed homeless pretty much for another year, sleeping first in little Subaru we had, and then in a truck. We have a Tahoe now. So we slept in the truck. We went to the gym for showers and stuff like that. We did DoorDash for extra income. We managed. But then ultimately we were capable of coming here and renting this trailer, which is a godsend. If you've ever been out on the street for any length of time, not necessarily on the street, but if you've ever been gone from home for a really long time and haven't had comfortable beds or anything like that, to be able to walk into your own home and nobody can tell you what to do, nobody bosses you around, you know you're capable of being autonomous and taking care of yourself, and you've got a good soft bed to go lay down on, and you've got a bathroom where you can go get a shower, and like with us, we get all of our errands done on the weekend, so we don't have to go anywhere during the week because it's just too dang hot here. It's miserable hot, and then when it gets cold, it's going to be miserable cold. But we manage, and we're all introverts anyway. We really don't like to get out. We go to therapy, and that's about it during the week. So, but we have that choice because this is who we are, and we have choices. Having choices is empowerment. Just thought I would throw this in there, and need to get off of here. I'm going to rest a little bit. I'm going to have a cup of iced tea, and then we'll get up and do some more. I'm doing some voiceover here simply because with the swamp cooler that's really loud and has this ticking noise that we have to get fixed, and the dryer and loud music in the backyard, it was just virtually impossible to really do any recording. Some of you may wonder why we have cat litter box on the dryer. That is because we have this little chug that is a little short on common sense and can't keep him out of the cat litter box if you have any problem. But the cat's plenty able to jump up on the dryer, and we keep it really clean. So when we first came here, we didn't have a washer and dryer, of course, and I did most of the laundry that I could on my hands, but we also couldn't afford laundry detergent, so I ended up just doing whatever I could get done and hanging it out on a line, which we have a joke here, nothing actually dries, it just dehydrates. So but after time, I had built confidence with the landlord. He knew we always paid our rent on time, and there was a few times that we borrowed like $20 or something, and we always was very prompt to pay it back. So eventually I asked him if he could get us a washer and dryer, and he did. He got us a washer dryer. The very first ones, the dryer didn't work, and the washing machine was never leveled properly, even though the maintenance man came to work on it. And it just rocked, and we'd have to sit on it, and we went through that for like months. But I could wash them and hang them out to dehydrate. But so now we have a washer and dryer. This is a time lapse of me cleaning up the living room. So Joseph is actually dancing to music. He has done this ever since he was really little, and I've told people that he has autism, but he also has cerebral palsy, and he sings and he dances and he has these movements, and it looks kind of weird because I've actually got it sped up quite a bit, like 4 times, to get through this a little faster. But he gets a lot of exercise and keeps his weight down this way.
So I'm just folding up all kinds of blankets and things that Jamie is hot-blooded. I am cold. Here I'm actually putting a belly band on Noogie so he can't mark things. He has to wear a little diaper sometimes. But I'm really cold-natured. Jamie's hot-natured, so we usually have the swamp cooler on so you can see the Canadian flag blowing in the wind. The reason we have the Canadian flag is because Jamie was a foreign exchange student in Nova Scotia, Canada, and he's had that, and that's why we keep it on the wall. But anyway, so there's usually lots of blankets around where I'm covering up and staying warm while he stays cool. But essentially this is just kind of like a pickup and a run through. I have never put curtains on the windows because number one, I couldn't afford them. Number two, I just, I have no real heart in wanting to fix things up and making it look better, but seeing how we may be here some months in the future, we really don't know how long we're going to be here. I am going to be doing some projects to make things a little better, especially if we see that we're going to make it through going to have to stay through the winter. Then I'm definitely going to winterize this end of the trailer because it doesn't get much heat from the gas furnace and it's quite cold, especially with these big windows. So yeah, that's what we're doing here. And as we go forward and we do those projects that I've got planned, we're going to keep them as low cost as possible, but we are going to do a few projects just to make things a little bit more cheerful and colorful. We have a pretty tight little neighborhood here. We've had some bad eggs come and go, but for the most part we stick together because, listen, we're all low income and we have to struggle to get by. And we're all kind of in the same predicament, so we help out where we can. It's good for people to help each other. And the landlord here, while some people would say, oh, he's a slumlord or whatever because the trailers aren't fixed up and stuff. If it wasn't for these trailers where people can rent them, some of them have grandfathered in at $400 a month, and we're later on, so ours is $600 a month. But the thing about it is, if we didn't have this place to live, we'd still be homeless. And thank God, that there are people out there that are willing to help out like that. And we have had him come along. I remember one time particular, we had a flat tire on the truck. We didn't know how he was going to get it fixed, and he come along and he just knocked on my door and he said, if you'll give me the keys to the truck, I'll go get that tire fixed. And he did that, and then he got the washer and dryer for me, and I couldn't pay for it right away, so we kind of built up a little bill with him. But I was really, really faithful to pay $25 a week. And so we also had moved in without the first month's rent or deposit, which that was like $1,200, and ultimately we did get help with that. Jamie just got back from the neighbors that we had taken to the hospital yesterday to have his surgery, and he's pretty much laid up, trying to recover from his surgery. But he had been here I don't know how many years and had never had his actual, because we have free cable here, and he had never had his cable hooked up. And so Jamie was able to go over there and hook up his cable for him, and he got, how many channels did he get?
All of them.
All of them, which is how many?
100.
So he's got 100 channels now that he didn't know he had, so he can recover and watch TV. He's just, as they would say in the mountains of Kentucky, he's happy as a pig in the sunshine. Okay, so I've got a ton of B-roll today from doing the actually first layer baseline cleaning of the house after last week being a pretty much royal mess. Now, other than my phone, my equipment is pretty messy, just not good. So I've got a little tripod that doesn't fit my phone, and I have to use hairbands to keep it on, and I've got a big tripod that won't lower, and it's all messed up too because it was broken when I got it. But we're gonna do that. And as I've said before, I got a raise in my income coming. But I did the fly through of the house today, and I thought before I get down to actually edit this video that I would talk about a couple of things. Number one, our history and where we actually kind of came from. Jamie and I both have experience in business and a lot of things that kind of enable us to have the skills to handle our finances and to invest and do some of the things that we need to manage finances properly. I've bought and sold property in the past, so I understand the process of that. I'm not really highly educated. Now, he graduated from high school, and I did not. I went to the 8th grade, and if you've looked at my past histories videos, you know my history. But everything I learned, I had to learn the hard way, and I'm talking about everything. I was not taught anything except, basic education up to 8th grade. So everything that I've learned, I've had to learn the hard way. But when we both had our problems, brain problems, because, like I said, he has had a lot of trauma in his life. Not only when he was a child, but then when he got older, lots and lots of hits in the head, lots and lots of, being knocked out. And the last time with the pipe to the head, he has 40 closed fractures in his skull. So he had amnesia. And I've spoken of this before, but, and then my gallbladder died and was setting up sepsis in my body and leaking out slowly. You can go back and see this on other videos. I don't want to stay on it long. But this slow leaking of poison into my body essentially was going into my brain. And the reason that it wasn't as extreme as you might think it would be is because my lymphatic system in my mesentery was absorbing this poison, kind of like your tonsils. And when it actually, then when it would get full, they would get so full, I would have, the spell of mesentery endonitis. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. I don't think I've ever had that right. Then get really, really sick, and they put me on antibiotics or whatever and heal me up, and then it would take a little while for it to build up again. But ultimately, it got so bad that it wasn't going away. Had surgery, had this moldy cheese gallbladder that was grown to my stomach and my intestines removed. It was quite an extensive surgery. But then I started getting better. But when all of that happened, and we essentially lost everything that we owned, including our minds. For me, I've had to start relearning things. A lot of my memory's lost. I've had to relearn some skills. When we were homeless, we managed fairly well because we were in the truck, in the car, and we had a gym membership, so we managed fairly well. We managed to stay clean. We managed to eat. We did DoorDash. I've told you this all before. So we managed pretty well. But when we came to this trailer park, this area is like terrible for DoorDash. You just can't make any money here to speak of. And so we were reduced down to one SSI check, which was for my son Joseph, who has autism and cerebral palsy. And in some of the videos, you see him dancing around in the videos because he gets the computer He gets the computer from early morning whenever he wakes up, 7 or 8 o'clock, till noon if he wants it. And then I don't work on it till later. The goal is to save enough money to get him his own good laptop, which we're about halfway there. So we are saving money and we're doing everything we can. But I spoke of the issues that you face. So we pay $600 a month for this trailer, which gives us a small yard, gives us our independence. Yeah, it's incredibly shabby, but there are some issues that come with that. And part of the reason that we were doing I'm going to do a talk over on part of this video is because of the music so loud in the back. Actually, the neighbors that live in the back are really nice people. They just don't seem to think about some things, and a lot of times it's just kids. You know, they play basketball behind our living room and the ball hits the wall and makes a big lot of noise, and they like to play their music. And for the most part, we just, we're pretty easygoing about that. We don't worry about it too much, and it can be frustrating, but, they're kids. And so, alright, so I got to fly through the house. Tomorrow I'm going to do a much deeper clean, and I probably won't hit every room because I'm going to find specific things to clean. Now, this is something that I really hate to tell. We have something like 20-some trailers here, and essentially, they're like shells. When we moved in here, it was really bad. But we were so thankful to have a roof over our heads. But there is an infestation of, and I don't want any bad talk, the really low income people live here. And we lived on $700 a month. Actually, no, it's more like $900 a month for a whole year we came here. All we could do was pay our rent, our electric, our gas, and then we got help with some of that because of, government help and, churches are different things, so we managed to get by that way. But there's an infestation of roaches in the neighborhood. Now, we are in the desert. These are German roaches which have adapted, and they literally can just about eat poison and, do nothing away with it. The first year that we lived here, we literally were playing these little phone games where you get you might make, if you play all day long, you might make 50 cents on a day. But we would make a month enough that we could buy one little bottle, $1 bottle of dish soap, or one little thing of laundry soap or something, and it just, I don't even know how we made it. If we hadn't been praying and God hadn't been providing for us, I don't know how we would have made it. But, so I learned these plastic barrels that you can get cheese balls in or something. It was an accident we learned. It accidentally happened. Cheese balls are kind of greasy. And I had one that we had emptied, and I was getting ready to wash the dishes, and it sat on the sink overnight. And when we got up the next morning, there was a bunch of roaches had crawled down in the barrel, and but they couldn't crawl back out because there was a greasy coating on the inside, and they couldn't climb up. And so I'm thinking, maybe I've discovered a trick, because we couldn't afford a $5 bottle of boric acid. We couldn't afford anything. But this was the trick. And over time, I learned that if you put a little bit of an apple or a little bit of onion, I use both because it seems to work the best, in the bottom of one of those barrels, and just put a really thin coat of margarine, some kind of something greasy. You could use anything that's a little bit greasy around the top, that they will jump in, but then they can't get back out. So I started fighting them that way, and it was and gross. And I've never had roaches before, not, in my own domain. I did get them one time because I carried them in from a food bank. That's another story. So I started catching them, and I was catching 200, 300 a night. And these are really crafty little boogers because you can see one nowhere, and you can start frying a hamburger or something, and they'll just crawl out of the woodwork. It's terrible. But I think a lot of the impoverished people in this area don't really probably try to fight them, or they try to fight them and they just can't win because these are nasty bugs. You just can't hardly get rid of them. So I've got to where I can afford to buy the combat roach bait, and I put it out, and they eat it, just squirt a little bit on the counter or whatever, and they eat it, and they'll eat it all up in the night. And then I also catch them in my barrel, and then to get rid of them, I put hot soapy water in there and just flush them down the toilet. Now, whether or not I'm going to share this, because it's actually quite embarrassing, but seeing how that I'm into the projects that we're going to be doing going forward to make this house as comfortable as we can, I wanted to share this because there may be times that you absolutely, on my kitchen counter or something, see one crawl through, but it's also summer, and they will come to water wherever it's at because we're in the desert and there's no water available outside at all. So I don't see how man or beast survive here, I'm going to be honest, and we can't wait to go back home. But I wanted to share that with you, and I wanted to share with you a little bit of our dream, because Jamie and I are both history. Now that we're getting all of our senses back and everything, we're starting to really enjoy some of our hobbies and stuff. And we both love history. I especially love European history, and specifically England, Ireland, Scotland, and France, and a little bit of France, and some Scandinavian, because that's my ancestry. I am nearly 80% British, maybe more than that if you add, like Wales and the different ones together. I'm 100% right there among the Celtic Isles. So I love to study the kings, the queens. I like to watch shows on the country manners, and I'm an artist. So I love to do, portraits of historic portraits of people. And so I have a dream at some point. I know this is a wild, out there dream. I understand that. Most people would think it's just literally impossible. But I have a dream of at some point owning a house or a building that's big enough to have antiques and all kinds of history stuff, and it would be essentially a home for any of my children, or the land would be a place where they could live double lives or whatever on, but who knows what will happen in the future. I'd let God just lead me on everything, but ultimately have trust funds and make sure that before I leave this world, my children are taken care of regardless. And I would love to have it set up to where it cannot be sold for 1,000 years. Now that sounds ridiculous, but hear me out. If I should never have grandchildren, or if for some reason, the line just runs out and there's nobody to actually live in the house, I would like for it to be big enough that it could be turned into a museum of some sort, that people could go and see traditions of the past, see traditions of, the founding fathers, where they came from, the early American life of the colonists and just share as much as that I can, because I fear that some of this stuff will be lost. So yeah, I know this is a moonshot, but I am soon going to be 65 years old, and I don't plan to spend the rest of my life sitting down. And that means I have to be healthy. So I'm getting ready to get started on my anti-aging, exercising, eating and drinking correctly, and getting as healthy as I can to accomplish as much as I can. Now, going forth, I hope that you see all of this stuff begin to manifest as we go forward. But yeah, it's a moonshot. But am I going to just sit here and crochet in the corner until they take me off to a nursing home? No, I don't think so. Not this girl. I got too much fire in me. So follow along with me. I'm an old gal. Yeah, I know I am. I'm out of shape. I've always been a chunky monkey, or at least heavy. And but I'm in good health, and I can walk, and I can move, and I can do a lot of stuff, and I'm incredibly creative. But a lot of my life has been wasted through trauma and PTSD and suffering and neglect and poverty. But I have made up my mind I'm going to conquer. I'm going forth to peace. So if you want to follow me on this YouTube channel, I want to make things special for myself, for my family, my children, and I want to make things special for you. And I want to help other people that have struggled with mental illness and poverty and homelessness, abandonment, and all of the things that we suffer from on this earth. Knowing that Jesus will rule and reign someday, and God is King, and we can do whatever we set our heart to do in prayer and thanksgiving. So, this is my story. This is kind of a new way of doing videos. This may end up being a really, really long video, but hang by. I want you to comment below. I've tried making simple thumbnails. I've tried making elaborate thumbnails. You know, who knows what works. It's really confusing with the YouTube algorithms, but if I get enough people that will follow me and will help me on this journey of making the world a better place to live, making things special, and leaving this world with a bang. If I get enough people following me and going along with me, hey, who's to know what can happen? So I'm going to say bye for now. I'm going to get over here to the computer and start editing, and I'll see you on the next video.